to the show, and we're now joined by broadcaster and lawyer Andrew Eborn for some LAWFUL news.
I'm on an extraordinary week yet again. Elon Musk, he's sacked half of his people, and there's all sorts of...
I can't stop, I'm staring at you here. You've got a bit of a D'Artagnan look going on. Have you noticed that?
I'll tell you why it is.
Well, I'm curious. Go on.
Every November, they have this thing called Movember, and for the last 12 years, I've been raising money and awareness for men's cancer and mental health. And all you have to do, rather than climb Kilimanjaro and go across the desert or swim the oceans, you had to just grow a little bit of moustache, a little bit of facial hair. What do you reckon?
I think it becomes you.
Well, you're very kind.
Good, but
hair raising is what they call it.
Climb Kilimanjaro, to be fair.
But what we were going to start with was the woman who's convinced that she is...
Well, absolutely. Michelle Andrea Hargreaves, or as she would like to be known, the Lord Jesus Christ. And she brought this action basically to backdate her birth certificate so she would be recognised as Jesus Christ. And it's one of those sort of things where you can identify as anything in this world. And the judge, who's a wonderful judge called Judge Hodge, he said it was arrant nonsense and he dismissed it out of hand. And if you come back to this court again, there's a real risk you'll be contempt of court, because she took up a lot of court time and so on and so forth. But it does raise all sorts of interesting questions. I do think there's probably a bit of a mental health issue and probably a serious aspect there. But there are people claiming all sorts of things, and she wanted to be recognised, going all the way back to 1963, as the Lord Jesus Christ.
I mean, you can change your name by deed, Paul.
You can do that. You can call yourself...
So she could change her name to... Could she change her name to Jesus?
Oh, and she did. And on the 22nd of November last year, she is now officially known as Jesus. But going all the way back to your... And actually recognising that you are... This is the second coming is maybe a step too far. I know Piers Morgan famously wanted to be identified as a penguin. And there's all sorts of things people identify Piers as. But you're working on that sort of premise. So you are right. In this
so it wasn't just a name change. She wanted a full acknowledgement of who she was and going back to her birth so that she was the second coming.
Exactly. So I think it is extraordinary.
Extreme.
Extreme is the word I would use. I'm talking of the second coming.
I mean, how do these things get to court, Andrew? Because, I mean, we hear about all these backlogs in the court where criminals aren't coming before the courts for years, and then... Somebody like this seems to insert themselves into the court.
Well, the reality is anybody can bring any action. People also say, how can you guard against litigation? Well, the short answer is the system is trying to make sure that you can resolve things amicably. They're trying to dismiss sort of founded claims and so on and so forth, which is why the courts will impose penalties, what's called a civil restraint order, if people try and bring it too often. So this judge in this particular case said, look, if you bring this again, I might have to give a civil restraint order, so it'd be contempt of court to raise the same issue. But you're right. But talking of second comings, Trump is very, very, very probably going to stand again, is what he announced, didn't he, just a couple of days ago. And it tied in beautifully with Elon Musk as well, because he may well give him his blue tick back, but he'd have to pay $8 to do that.
Is it $8 a day?
Well, I hope it's $8 a tweet would be brilliant. but it's actually $8 a month. And what Elon's saying is that it costs $4 million a day to run Twitter. That's how much he's losing, actually. He's losing $4 million a day. And there's been a class action suit against the 50% of the people who've been sacked, bringing a class action suit. What he's publicly said, and I think it's public knowledge now, he said when I said, look, I'll give you 3 months worth of pay, even though it's 60 days they're entitled to. So that's going to happen on that sort of basis. But speech is no longer free. You have to pay your $8 a month.
I can't understand why anybody wants to pay $8. I mean, surely it's for Twitter's benefit that people are verified. It's not. I
agree, but
why is it for the person?
Well, he's going to turn around and try and monetize it somehow, because he overpaid, as we predicted on the show, he overpaid $44 billion for something which is probably worth about 25. The reality is this: he's got to try and find money somewhere. So he's going to turn it into the mother of all apps, rather similar to WeChat in China, is what he's talking about. So it'll be an everything app, and in time for everybody's favourite poster boy, Donald Trump, to run for his presidency, which I predict he'll probably announce on the 14th of November.
Right, well, you heard it here first.
Very, very, very probably.
Thank you very much indeed, Andrew, for that. I think Elon Musk is going to have to come up with a better money-raising idea than that.
Charging everybody who's on Twitter, but people will probably come off there and go somewhere else.
Why do you care whether you've got a blue tick or not? It doesn't bother me. Anyway.
Have you got one?
I have, I think, yeah, but I couldn't care less. But anyway, coming up, we'll be joined by a therapist and relationship expert who believes men in relationships should not follow models on social media.
Are you following any?
Well, we'll find out soon.